Hi everyone, Gemma here, thanks for watching today. I'm bringing you another 3D gift box. No specialty dies are required to make this. I have used the floral die for embellishment purposes. So this box of chocolates here is the inspiration for today's gift box. They're my mother's favourite chocolates and I thought I'd put a handmade twist on an inexpensive gift. So the products I'm going to be using is this die set from Julie Hickey, and it's the Poinsettia and Holly die set. And I have the holly leaves here that I'm going to be using. And then the paper pad is the Traditional Christmas from Hobbycraft, and I'm not too sure if I got this year or last year, but I'll try to link it in the description box below for you. To make the gift box, you'll need a piece of 12 by 6. Along the 12-inch side, score at half, 4 and 9 3/4. Rotate so you have the 1/2 inch tab at the top. You're going to score at 1/2 inch, past the first score line down to the second, and 5 1/2 past the first score line down to the second. Then rotate to the opposite side and score at 1 1/2 down to the first score line and 4 1/2 down to the first score line. Fold this piece over and just make a notch at 1 and 5. Next you'll need a piece of 8 by 6. Along the 8-inch side, score at 5 3/4. Rotate so you have this 2 1/4 score line here. Score at 1 1/2 down to the first score line and 4 1/2 down to the first score line. Fold the piece over and make a notch at 1 and 5. Then rotate to the opposite side and make a notch at 1/2 and 5 1/2. Next you'll need 2 pieces of 7 1/2 by 3 1/2. Along the 7 1/2 inch side, score at 1/2 and 6 1/4. Rotate so you have the 1 1/2 inch score line here. Score at 1/2 inch down to the first score line and 3 down to the first score line. Next we need to do some additional scoring. I have the 12 by 6 piece and we're going to be working along the 6-inch side. So we have the 1/2 inch tab here at the top and the larger tab at the bottom. So we've got our score lines here at the bottom, and we're going to score from this point here to this point here. So then you're left with a 1/2 inch gap on this top piece. So pop your stylus in and line it up to the bottom marker and score along that line. So then you have a score line there, and do exactly the same on the opposite side. And then we need to do some additional scoring on our 8 by 6 piece. So working along the 6-inch side, we're going to do the same scoring again. So we've got this larger tab here at the bottom. We're going to score from this piece here up to the 1-inch marker, sorry, the 1/2 inch marker that we made. So pop your stylus in and score along there, and then do exactly the same on the opposite side. Next we need to do some cutting guidelines. So we've got our 2 side pieces here, and we've got the 1/2 inch tab here at the top and the larger tab at the bottom. So where the score line meets up to this first score line, you want to draw a line from there to the very edge along this score line here. I hope that makes sense. So working from the bottom, we come up to the first score line and then draw a guideline to the second score line, so it doesn't affect this 1/2 inch tab here at the top. So you want to do that on both sides and on both pieces. Next, fold and burnish along these 3 score lines, and then we're going to do some cutting. So with the larger tab on your right hand side, you want to cut up on this first score line to this score line here where they both meet. So then you're left with a piece like this. You want to do exactly the same on the opposite side. So you've then got these 2 pieces, and you're going to completely remove both of them. I've made a cutting guideline from the notch that we made to the edge here. You don't have to do that. I'm doing it because I'm using a pair of scissors, but you could line those points up with your ruler and cut with a craft knife or your trimmer. So I'm just going to cut down there, so I've got my score line and then a 1/2 inch tab, and I'm going to do exactly the same on the opposite side. Next, with our 1/2 inch tab here on the left and this first score line, we move into the second score line over, cutting up to the first score line, then removing both pieces here. Okay, so you've got a piece like that, and you want to do exactly the same on the opposite side. Then lastly, we just want to take some wedges off our 1/2 inch tabs here. So a wedge there off that end and this end. And the same then on the opposite side. So you're then left with a piece that looks like this. So we'll set that to one side. Now we're going to work on our front panel. So the cutting is very similar to the previous piece. So working on the right hand side, on this first score line here, you want to cut up to the first score line and then rotate and cut away that piece. Exactly the same then on the opposite side. And then I've made some cutting guidelines as before from the notch mark that we made up to the very corner. And then exactly the same on the opposite side. And we're going to just take some wedges off this 1/2 inch tab here. And the same on the opposite side. So you're then left with a piece that looks like this. So excuse my incorrect score lines, but these will all be hidden, so it'll be fine. And I've just folded and burnished along those score lines there. Next, we're going to work on our side pieces. So working on the right hand side, we're going to come into the first score line and cut up to this first score line, like so. And then you want to cut from this edge all the way up to the corner there that meets that second score line. and then you want to do exactly the same on the opposite side. And then you should be left with a piece that looks like this. So do exactly the same then on the next piece. That's done there. I'm just going to fold and burnish the score lines. So now we have our 4 pieces to assemble the box. So before we do that, I want to cut the pattern paper with you and stick them down so we have a flat surface. So for your lid, you'll need a piece of 3 1/8 by 4 5/8. For the front and back, you'll need 2 pieces of 4 1/2 by 5 3/8. And for the sides, you'll need 2 pieces of 3 1/8 by 5 3/8. So we don't need to do any additional guidelines on the lid. That's fine. We'll set that to one side. We'll work on the front and back pieces first of all. So grab yourself a ruler and a pencil, and working along the 4 1/2 side, at the bottom I'm going to come in 7/8 of an inch and make a marker, and then on the opposite side do the same, come in 7/8 of an inch and make a marker. Draw a line then from your marker up to the very corner. Do that on both sides. And then just going to trim those pieces away. So you want to do that on both pieces, and obviously be mindful if you're using a directional pattern paper, so you have it facing the correct way, so you'll have the smaller edge at the bottom. Okay, working on the sides, I've just flipped over my pattern paper and I'm working along the 3 1/8 edge at the bottom. I'm going to come across 9 16ths and make a marker. Same on the opposite side, 9 16ths. Draw a line then from your marker up to the very edge. Do the same then on the opposite side. And then cut away those pieces. So again, I've used my scissors and made cutting guidelines on my pattern paper, but you can use a craft knife or a trimmer if you prefer. So I'm just going to get all my pattern paper stuck down to my pieces, and then I'll come back to you. So I've gone ahead and I've prepared all the pattern paper on the 4 panels, and I've attached them using collal glue, so that will really help strengthen the box. And now we're going to move on to the assembly. So I've got the back piece here, and I'm going to take my 2 sides and I'm going to add quick grab glue along this tab here, and then attach them together like so. Okay, so I've attached those 2 panels. Next I'm going to attach the front panel to this panel here. Same again, add quick grab glue along this 1/2 inch tab and attach them together. So I'm just going to close the box up. So I've added quick grab glue along this 1/2 inch tab here, and you want to marry this edge up to this point here. So if you fold a 1/2 inch tab back, that'll sort of give you a corner to work against. So next I'm just going to close the bottom up. So I'm going to put the 2 side tabs in first, then the back piece, and then the front piece. So I have been slightly off with my measurements here, and there's about 1/2 inch that doesn't quite meet, but I'm not too bothered about that because that's the base. But if you're not very happy, you could add another piece here. That's 3 by 2 3/4. So I'm using collard glue again just to strengthen the base, but those chocolates are quite light. So I've folded over the back piece and I'm just going to add the collard glue on the front piece here. And then fold that over. I'm just going to flip it up and go in with my bone folder. So next we just want to work on the lid. So I'm just going to trim a little bit off this side and then see if it holds itself shut. If not, I'll do some more trimming. You can take these pieces off prior to assembly, but I like to do it at the end because sometimes, or in the past I should say, I've taken off too much and then it doesn't hold itself shut. So there we go, that's nice and snug now. So along the front I'm going to make a marker at the 2.5 inch point. And I've got a 1/2 inch circle punch here, and I'm just going to take a little bit off for a finger pull. So that when we close that back up, it's easier to open. So there's the assembly of the box. You could also add some pattern paper and that will cover that tab up. But as I said, I'm not too bothered about that because it's at the bottom. So I'm just going to add my chocolates. And close that back up. So I've just cut a generous amount of red ribbon and I'm going to use it to fasten the gift box. I'm just going to tie it round as so. So I've tied a bow on the top there and it's all held together really nicely with that. Then lastly I'm just going to bring in a tag that I've cut myself. So I think it was a piece of 3 by 2.5. I just marked at the 2.5 inch marker there and on the opposite side, and then came in at 1/2 inch and just cut across both sides there. And I've also cut these leaves using the Julie Hickey dies. So you've got the plain leaf there and then you've got the more intricate piece that sits over the top of the leaf like that. So you could stick it on directly or slightly offset it, which I think I will do, just adds a little bit more interest. So I've die cut 2 of the smaller leaves and 1 of the larger, and then these berry pieces. So I'm just going to get those stuck down on my tab, on my tag I should say. I've then taken some green and white baker's twine. I'm going to thread that through the hole there. And tie it to the ribbon, but I'm not going to do that on camera because I want to add some glossy accents to the berries, and I need a flat surface for that to dry. So I've just added a generous amount of the glossy accents. As you can see, it's cloudy at the moment, but it will dry clear, and that'll give a nice effect then on the tag. So as I said, I'll tie it off to the ribbon, and then it'll sit in the front there. I really like the two pieces of the die where you've got the solid piece and then the more intricate piece, and I think it gives a nice effect then to this gift box. So I think that's a really nice way to present an inexpensive gift with a handmade touch, and I'm really pleased with how it turns out. I'll pop a picture in at the end once the tag is dried and I've attached it, so you can see the final result. So I hope you've enjoyed today's video. If you have, you might want to give me a thumbs up, a comment, or consider subscribing to the channel. If you're already subscribed, thank you so much for subscribing and your support. I'm really grateful. Once again, thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!